What did we learn last night? We learned that Tyler Hero may end up being quite a hero for the NBA. As a rookie, he posted the second best game ever in the NBA in the playoffs, in the NBA Eastern or Western Conference Finals, up there with Magic Johnson. That is pretty crazy. And by the way, supreme athlete here. I'm a little bit out of breath. I had to run all the way from downstairs. Don't want to brag or draw attention to myself, but I just had to run all the way from downstairs in the house all the way to the third floor in the house.
I've seen those stairs. Time. It's like 4 steps.
There's a lot of steps. My house is tall. And I'm a little bit out of breath here. Also, but so Tyler Hero, I was going to say, so we got these cats now, and I think my breathing is getting more labored. I'm lucky to be alive.
When did you get the cats finally?
About 10 days ago, the cats came in. I don't know. I haven't really interacted very much with the cats, but we now have the 2 Bengal cats. And so the house is kind of a zoo now with these 2 new kittens running around everywhere. And I really just don't even know what I think about myself now that we have these 2 cats in the house. So anyway,
you're going to change your opinion on that in a couple of minutes when I tell you a story here.
About cats?
Yeah.
All right, so we got Tyler Hero, and the Miami Heat are basically in the NBA Finals. Stat that I just can't get over. Are you guys as blown away by this stat as I am? Like, I looked at the number of people who were watching Tuesday night. So the Lakers lose to the Denver Nuggets, and the NBA people, they love to pump the NBA on social media. Oh, they're so brave. They're so the NBA's amazing. That's what you see all the time on social media. The NBA has lost 40% roughly of its audience since it came back in this viewing cycle, right? So what I mean by that is last year, 7.25 million people watched Game 3 of the NBA Western Conference Finals. So if you go back to last year, you may remember Golden State Warriors going up against the Portland Trailblazers. If I remember correctly, that was a sweep, right? I think that was a sweep. And if you go back and look at it, the Golden State Warriors versus Portland Trailblazers, 7.25 million people watched it. Last Tuesday night, most recent night we've gotten ratings for, 4.8 million people watched the NBA game, the Lakers going up against the Denver Nuggets. So in the space of a year, the NBA has gone from 7.2 million people watching Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals, which wasn't really a very competitive finals, but did feature the Warriors, to now LeBron, who has always been the biggest draw in the NBA, producing a pale shadow of the numbers that watched last year in the NBA. And as I see these numbers continue to come in, I am fascinated by the fact that more people are interested in watching a documentary about Michael Jordan, the Bulls dynasty, than they are in actually watching LeBron James play real-life basketball. And that's pretty wild. And now the NBA people out there are like, well, we're competing with the NFL. You weren't on Tuesday night. There was nothing else on television, sports-wise, really, Tuesday night. And still only 4.8 million people watched. And oh, by the way, this is going into the numbers a little bit. That's not even an even comparison because they've started to add out-of-home viewing into the overall ratings numbers. So that means if you're watching at a gym, if you're watching in a hotel, if you're watching at a bar, all of those places now are theoretically counting, which means you're getting a boost for almost all sports viewing, and the NBA ratings are still cratering. Why are they cratering? I think it's because guys like LeBron James, when they're asked directly about the shooting of 2 LA police officers, they no comment. And I think that the NBA has lost its way with the average American sports fan, and people are choosing not to watch that product. And I hope the NFL doesn't follow down their path and end up tanking as a result as well. It's pretty wild to think about. More people would rather watch a documentary about Michael Jordan, millions more, than would rather watch LeBron James actually play basketball. Average of 6 million people watched every one of those Michael Jordan documentaries on ESPN. 4.8 million people watched LeBron James in the Western Conference Finals with the Lakers on Tuesday night. Does that blow you guys' mind like it blows my mind? More people were interested in watching a Michael Jordan documentary than LeBron James actually play basketball?
Well, obviously for ratings, it's not been the best year for the NBA. Me personally, I'm still enjoying the actual play on the court, but that's the only reason I tune in. I don't tune in to have somebody to tell me to register to vote, something that has already taken place in my life or things like that. And I think you're friends with Aaron Torres too. A tweet he sent out last night kind of struck me because I've never seen him type anything like that, but he said he tuned in excited to see the pregame, and instead ESPN was preaching to him about voting and stuff, and it bothered him. And I'm like, dang, it's either bothering him right now.
Well, I think
I mean, I get it. I can understand how it's bothering people, but for me, like, I'll tune in a few minutes into the first quarter. I watch the play. It's off. I watch the star get interviewed. I turn it off. Nothing bothers me. I get triggered by nothing.
What about you, Dub? Is that crazy to you that more people watched a documentary about Michael Jordan than are watching LeBron actually play games?
It is a little surprising, I would say. I mean, if you were to tell me that would happen, back in the middle of the pandemic when we didn't have any sports to watch, it certainly would have surprised me that we have live sports now. There is a lot of sports going on as well, to be fair, a lot more options, but it is a little surprising to me.
Tuesday, there was not really any major sports competition, right? I mean, the NBA basically had the entire sports calendar to itself, and yet the ratings may well be the lowest nearly that they've ever been for the NBA's Western Conference Finals. And I bet that's the lowest finals game rating that LeBron has ever had in his career. And that's not even considering, again, the fact that he's playing for the Lakers, which should be a team that would draw far more attention than would ordinarily be the case. Eddie, crazy stat that more people watched Michael Jordan's documentary than are watching LeBron James in the finals?
Well, I might not be the best person to ask because I'm not going to watch LeBron James in the finals or whatever, regardless, really, unless it's, I mean, I had told you that I was interested in Lakers Clippers because of the local interest.
Yep.
Since that's gone now.
You haven't watched Lakers Nuggets at all through 3 games?
No, not at all. And look, I watch the highlights, I read the stories to try and keep track with my job, but I'm not watching that for entertainment purposes because I'm not a fan of that product. But I will say the Michael Jordan thing, that was like there was nothing else going on, and that was the one thing that we could all watch together. So that there's that, to be fair.
I think there's a nostalgia factor for Jordan.
For sure. I watched it. I watched every episode, every second of it.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was a fantastic documentary. All right, so that is where we are. Let me get picks. Well, we'll do this a little bit. I'm going to give you, so for people out there who are used to football season, I usually have been giving over the past several years my gambling picks for college football on Friday. What I'm going to start doing now is I'm going to give you my gambling picks for college football on Thursday in the final hour. And then on Friday, I'm going to give you my NFL gambling picks. So on Thursday, I'll give you my college picks to close out the show. On Friday, I'll give you what I'm going to call the Outkick six-pack. Six-pack of picks for you to take into the weekend in the NFL. And we'll see how we do over the course of the season. And I'll give those to you. Again, I'll give you the college picks today. I'll give you the NFL picks tomorrow. With the NFL returning, we'll talk about this maybe also in the final segment of the show, but I'm curious what everybody expects to see tonight in the Dolphins-Jags game. But I understand you have an update for me, Danny G, in the universe of the Animal Thunderdome on some level.
Yes. What a crazy day yesterday. So instead of going to bed in the middle of the day, I was still bothered about the whole Dodgers cutouts thing that we talked about.
Yeah, I saw your email. Did we get any response? I didn't see a response from the Dodgers at all.
So that's part of this update for you because I stayed up and I wrote a strongly worded letter directly.
I should read that email. So for those of you out there who are not aware, we bought, and by we I mean me, we bought 3 cutouts from the Dodgers. And the Dodgers initially were all fired up about it, and they were like, oh, that's great. and we'll make sure that we put your cutouts in a prominent place. And so it was me, it was Danny G, and it was Roberto. And obviously AM 570 LA Sports in the LA area is a Dodger affiliate. And so I spent, nearly $1,000 for charity for these cutouts. And we had to get our pictures taken, and Danny G had to send them in. I had to give him credit card, everything they charge us, everything's taken care of. And now the season's basically over, and the Dodgers haven't been willing to even tell us where our cutouts are. So you tagged me on this. You emailed one of the Dodger employees, and I'm going to read. Is it okay with you if I read the email?
Yeah, that's fine. She is one of the ones who runs the Dodgers Foundation.
Yeah. Okay, so here is Danny G's very professional email to the Dodgers, which I believe I'm correct. The Dodgers haven't responded to, right?
No.
Yeah. So, okay. The Dodgers too busy to respond to Danny G. And here is Danny G's email to the Dodgers. Aaron, hi, my name is Danny G. I'm executive producer of Outkick the Coverage on Fox Sports Radio. Our national radio show is carried locally on AM 570 LA Sports as the lead into Dan Patrick. We have the hottest sports talk show in the country right now, as you'll see in the numbers attached. Millions are tuning in each morning in all 50 states, with millions more downloading the podcast version of the show. Our host, Clay Travis, was nice enough to offer to get cutouts for myself and our engineer, Roberto, when the shortened season began, as we are both lifelong Dodger fans. We also turned in one for Clay, and he personally made the $900 donation. Our listeners were really excited about trying to spot us in the stadium. Pics even turned into a meme, also attached. Besides radio, Clay is on TV each day on FS1's Fox Bet Live and promoted the Dodger cutouts on that program. They also showed the meme on camera. His TV panel has been talking about how they're watching Dodger games and don't see him. We don't know if we're in the stadium. And then this is another detail. But from my communications, I understand you've had limited access, but now the season in Los Angeles is almost complete. I'd really, italics, appreciate your assist on this in placing the cutouts where they are in perfect view of the cameras, giving us an on-air payoff after so many weeks of promoting. Thanks for your help. Sincerely, Danny G. No response from the Dodgers. That's a very legitimate, reasonable email. I mean, how can the Dodgers – I mean, is this making you question your Dodger fandom? Danny G, they won't even respond to your emails.
Well, part of the reason I'm not all the way infuriated yet is that this is the Dodgers charity group, but it is ran by the Dodgers, it's overseen by the Dodgers organization. So ultimately it is on the Dodgers. Now I'm going to write a letter to the Dodgers front office today.
An email, you mean?
Yes.
Or a real letter?
Right. I'm going to go outside of the charity group and go right to the Dodgers.
I just don't understand.
Executives.
We have a monstrous listening audience. I guarantee you that there are Dodger employees up right now driving into work, trying to beat the LA traffic, getting a workout in, whatever they might be doing. I would guarantee you, right? How is it that no one at the entire organization is capable of handling this question?
Well,
do you think the Dodgers hate me?
It could be.
That's what I'm starting to think.
Yeah,
I'm starting to think.
I've had trouble in the past where I tried to book a guest, and once I got your name into the mix, things went south.
Who did we try to book at the Dodgers?
Dave Roberts back in the day, and
did we really? I don't even remember asking for that. That might have been you just doing that on your own.
I think it was me doing it on my own back. It was back when the Dodgers were going to the playoffs a few seasons ago.
See, I don't even worry. We don't even hardly ask for athletes or managers or anything. Like, I feel like as a show, we are so easy to deal with because I'm not making demands. I'm not like, I've got to have this player. I've got to have this coach. Because frankly, most of the time players and coaches come on
and they're a snooze. They don't say anything.
Unless I know them or unless I know they're a fan of the show, they kind of suck on the air. And it's like I would rather take calls from random people in the country than put on a guest. And so you think that the Dodgers might hate me?
I just don't know what the hell is going on with that foundation group. Because
we made a donation to their charity.
Well, here's the thing, and I mentioned Dave Weiss yesterday, who is our go-between between the Dodgers AM 570 and Fox Sports Radio Network. And they've been giving him the runaround for weeks and weeks and weeks. So that's why yesterday...
I mean, the season is almost over, but this was back, like, we made the donation and sent in the pictures for the cardboard cutouts.
Well, and we did get one email from Aaron saying that our cardboard cutouts were placed inside the stadium on 9/2/20.
Right, but
but
no one
no
has
picture.
actually been able to like, we have a large audience. Our pictures have never, like, no one has tweeted us. No one has ever seen us inside of Dodger Stadium.
No, and they haven't sent any picture to us showing where the placement is. And this is after, months ago, them saying they were going to take good care of us because they knew how hot our radio show was. So I'm going to get to the bottom of this, though. I wanted yesterday to give the...
So you sent it to the Dodgers.
Right.
But they now
to
had
their
24 hours, basically, and not responded to us.
Right. Not to the organization, but to their foundation group who you donated to. And so now today I'm going to take it one ring higher, up to one ladder high, one step on the ladder higher to the Dodgers front office. We'll see.
I think it's they hate. What do you think, Roberto? Do you think it's because they hate me?
I'm starting to think that, yeah. And with that $900 donation, we should have been literally behind home plate.
I mean, everybody else at AM, like Petros got his picture.
He's the only one. He is the only one from AM 570 that anybody has seen.
All right, but if Colin Cowherd had donated $900 to the Dodgers, he would know where his picture is.
It depends.
If Dan Patrick had donated $900 to the Dodgers on behalf of his show.
Depends if they hate him the way they hate you, apparently.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, you just got to look at the numbers.
But look,
and the numbers reflect that if you hate me, you hate America. So that's where I am with the Dodgers.
All right, and this is how bad it is. So after I write that letter, I'm wide awake.
Sternly worded letter.
Yes, and I'm like, okay, I know I have some work to do in order to book Carole Baskin because one of our listeners who also listens to Bobby Bones tweeted that it took months for them to get her on the Bobby Bones show.
Yeah.
So I know, like, she's sensitive when it comes to media and appearing on shows and the whole thing. So I start from scratch. Took me about an hour to track down somebody in the Baskin circle. So I write a note to that assistant about our radio show, similar to the beginning of that Dodger letter, and then I take a 30-minute nap. I wake up blurry-eyed, and the reason I woke up to check my emails was because I thought the Dodgers charity group was going to be emailing back.
Because you thought, if you were thinking about it, who's more likely to respond today? The Dodgers, who we've given money to and we're just asking to do something simple and we've been talking with for months, or Carole Baskin from the Tiger King documentary, who's currently on Dancing with the Stars.
Yes.
I think almost everybody out there would be like, oh, the Dodgers are probably going to respond first. That wasn't actually the case.
1,000%. So I'm scanning my inbox thinking the Dodgers charity group's going to be writing back. Instead, there is an email titled Sports with a question mark with the circle initials CB, and it says Carole Baskin. And she wrote to me, I'm not sure what the relevance of my life would be to anyone interested in sports. And I do a double take. I'm like, that's not the assistant I wrote to.
Carole Baskin responds within a half hour to an email invite to come on our radio show.
Herself.
Her personally.
Right.
The Dodgers have not responded to us in months.
Exactly. So the assistant saw my email and was like, oh, this would be a good show for her to go on. Forwarded my info to Carole. She emails me right away, although she wondered why a sports show wanted her on the air.
Yeah.
So I respond right back and I say, hey, we're a lot more than sports. We talk about pop culture. And I told her, in quotations, we have an amazing animal stories each week.
Oh, award-winning, I would say, Animal Thunderdome.
Right. I didn't go into detail about what the Animal Thunderdome is, but she wrote back that her schedule's jam-packed, that she would like to do the show, but she thought she couldn't do it until after she's voted off Dancing with the Stars. So I wrote back and I'm like, look, I know you're working hard, because in the middle of her sending these messages, she's training her for her new dance routine because she's not voted off yet. So I wrote back and I'm like, look, we're really cheering for you. We'd love to get you on the show. And she wrote back saying that Dancing with the Stars only wants her to use their preferred media partners right now. And so she'd be really limited about what she could talk about while she's still on the show.
Yeah.
And so this is right around the time you're getting ready to go on FS1, and the conversation 7 emails in stalls out. And this is where I was telling you it's not always bad to be a cat owner, Clay, because I pulled out the big guns. An hour after things looked like they stalled out, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. I sent her the best tiger pose of my cat, Mac, and I told her, thank you for making the interview happen. Not only did she like the photo, Clay, she wrote back within 10 minutes of that picture and said, you know what? I will get you guys on the approved list, and I think I can make it onto the show now. But you need to ask your host, would he rather have me on now and I can only talk about Dancing with the Stars, or wait until I get voted off and then I'll have more freedom to talk about whatever I want?
Oh, we're going to wait till after. 100%.
And by the way, this email thread went on till 7 p.m. West Coast time last night.
All right. So, first of all, Carole I give credit to anybody who is responding to an email like the one that we sent in. So, Carole Baskin, I think you respond and say we want her after the Dancing with the Stars is over, and we will figure out when it makes sense. And so you want a show with range from the President of the United States to Carole Baskin. You never know what you're going to have on the show from one minute to the next.
I will let her know because the last email was her trying to get us on the approved list, and I told her I would let her know today when we would want the interview to happen.
By the way, Dodgers season, the final game for the Dodgers is Sunday. I feel like they're just trying to wait us out at this point. Right? I mean, they got a game. Are they even playing at home? When is their?
They're playing at home right now till Sunday.
So they have the final homestand of the season.
Yeah, and then they play the first.
Yeah, first 3 for the first round of the playoffs. But
because they've been pulling, their charity group at least has been pulling a power move with us. I almost feel like now that I'm homies with Carole Baskin, I should ask a favor of her and have her email the Dodgers front office.
I can't believe that a radio show with millions of monthly listens, right? I mean, just a dominant radio show, that they can't even respond to our email about our charitable donation after you're the one who told me. They said, hey, we'll put this so people can see it, so your audience is like, oh, that's the show that I listen to in the morning because we have so many people who are Dodger fans.
Yeah, their first email back to us was how excited they were that we were participating.
I don't get it.
They obviously heard a show or two in between that time, and they're a big fan of yours.
Well, I mean, if they don't like this show, they're not fans of America.